Hi everyone, this is Dan, and this is Judge Dredd, the Complete Case Files 01. And this video is on the first extended storyline of Judge Dredd. Just had to get past the first couple issues, or as the British call it, the progs. By the way, anyone in the comment section who know or is in the know, maybe they're British or they understand this, why is it called a prog? Or progs, I guess. Does that mean like a progressive? Is that what they're trying to go? I don't understand. Like, I'm just kind of jumping into 2000 AD, and I'm like very confused at the terminology that the British use. But maybe it's just a little nuanced, is all it is. Anyhow, so the Robot Wars is the first sort of extended storyline in the Judge Dredd comic series, progressive progs. Yeah, you know what I'm talking about. Anyhow, it's really interesting. So I had to get past. I did a review of Judge Dredd, like a first impressions or the first case files, and it was all right. I mean, I thought it was kind of an interesting premise. Judge Dredd is kind of a dystopia sort of comic, but I thought the writing in the first couple issues was a little bit, generic. The Judge Dredd's a cool character, but everything's very much like, it feels like a really old DC comic, just with maybe a little more nuance since it's a dystopia novel. The Robot Wars actually is pretty good, though. So I went through it, and so we get introduced to the premise. Here is a robot. So in the Judge Dredd universe, the robots are somewhat sentient. They have feelings and emotions, but they still obey their masters. I guess someone was reading a lot of Asimov or something like that. So here we have a robot pleading for his life, but his master tells him to go in the fire to prove his loyalty and show how well designed the robot is to potential buyers. So the robot gets burned and all this other stuff. You get great commentary by Judge Dredd, though. So here's Judge Dredd and another Dredd watching the whole issue. And Dredd has a great observation about this. It was a cruel exhibition, Diablo. We give the robots the will to live and then expect them to die like willing slaves. It's going to spell trouble one day. And indeed it does. So in this issue, you got some renegade and a robo-chair fighting over, and both the judges have to defeat this guy. They eventually do, and Judge Dredd uses another crazy police robot to take down the bad guy. But it sets the premise for what's going to happen later, and that is the introduction of this character, Call-Me-Kenneth. Call-Me-Kenneth is essentially the primary antagonist of this entire run, and he's a rogue robot who has gained sentient and the ability to override his programming, right, and allow him to revolt against humanity. And it's really great. You get this line all the time, death to the fleshy ones. So Call-Me-Kenneth is a carpenter robot, I believe, and he goes on a rampage, and Judge Dredd has to stop him. I like this, keep America clean. And in the middle of it, Judge Dredd's weapons don't really do a whole lot to him, and he's about to get wrecked by Kenneth until he's able to kind of figure out where his sensors and stuff are, and use electricity to defeat him. Actually, no. What he does is he tricks him into cutting himself in half, and you get sort of a buildup. And here, the results of the Call-Me-Kenneth confrontation has Judge Dredd go to the Council of Dredd or of Justice, right? And talk to the Grand Judge and ask him, hey, we got to stop this robot production because it's freaking crazy here. This is going to end very poorly for all of us. He gets denied because everybody's lazy, and you got a great one. The citizens would never agree to working more than a 10-hour work week. Judge Dredd has a lot of social commentary that you're not sure, especially in these old issues, what direction the writer John Wagner or whoever is writing these is going, and it's very fascinating. So here, Call-Me-Kenneth is getting rebuilt into a new robot, and here you have a wacky scientist trying to show what he's going to do until some really stupid assistant drops a device in the wrong area, and Call-Me-Kenneth revives. And it's pretty crazy. You get harrowing. It's like dark. Happenings, because Kenneth basically drills this guy off screen and kills him, and then this robot sees that and is able to gains sentience, and he freaking tosses his two masters out of a freaking building. And then it begins the robot wars. Robot starts revolting. The judges are having to deal with it. And, the grand judge is realizing he fucked up, and here comes Judge Dredd to save the day. Very, very nice. It's actually, it's kind of interesting it's because the progs are so short, you only get like 5 to 6 pages at a time. You get these sort of very compressed stories, and it makes Judge Dredd very easy to read. You kind of burn through like several of these really fast. But it makes sense that eventually they would have an ongoing story, because you just can't tell a very good story in the short five pages that they're having this format. So we go here, and the war goes full scale. The judges are kind of getting wrecked, and Judge Dredd is like fighting like crazy against all these guys. You actually have a great scene right here where Dredd actually collapses because he's not sleeping, because he's fighting so damn hard to defeat the robots. And then he resolves like this war, like this prog is basically showing you the drama of the war and the casualties. And Dredd, resolves at this point that, hey, I gotta figure out a way to fight, Kenneth, or Call-Me-Kenneth face to face. And then you get the introduction of Walter the robot. So Walter's kind of a pathetic little robot that, wants to be, subservient to humans. Dredd kind of uses him as a way to break into the robot sort of factory headquarters. And Dredd sneaks in by pretending that he's a robot till he gets bit by a dog. And what ends up happening is a couple of robots observe that he's bleeding, and then they capture him. And then him and Walter get brought over to Call-Me-Kenneth. By the way, they changed the design of Call-Me-Kenneth to make him more humanoid. And I think it works a lot better. Because, if you take a look at him, he's really much more menacing in his human-like form. So what's really interesting is they make a lot of references, or I guess they try to. So the writer tries to kind of make a comparison of Call-Me-Kenneth to Adolf Hitler, which makes a lot of sense for what they were doing at the time that this was going on. This is the 70s, so yes, I'm a big fan of Adolf Hitler. A little bit on the nose here, but that's kind of the going. So. Judge Dredd tries to escape. He gets his ass whipped. And then eventually Walter the robot is able to break him out by using acid to destroy his robocuffs. And they team up together to sort of usurp Kenneth as the robot leader. So what their plan is to reprogram all the robots so that they go back to being slaves of humans. And it works out, and they go have a confrontation and a great robot war between the robots that are loyal to the humans and the robots that are loyal to the robots, or I should say Kenneth, because Kenneth has kind of created himself as a dictator of the robots now. He's basically oppressing the robots to a degree, which is why a lot of robots are willing to revolt. It's really weird that in this run, they're kind of towing the line between the robots being human-like and able to feel emotions and make decisions, and then at the same time, having to obey their, native programming. It's kind of an interesting series. So we get the conflict, we get like a lot of actions, and what happens is Judge Dredd goes to the weather tower and calls forth a nasty lightning storm. He's able to basically kill all the robots. Call-Me-Kenneth is able to escape one last time, and Judge Dredd has to hunt him down and destroy him. Here you have Kenneth, looking for oil and other stuff. Judge Dredd basically fights him on this Texas City oil rig, and they go down till eventually Judge Dredd is able to spill oil all over him before shooting him and burning him alive and destroying him. And then at which point Dredd is able to get picked up by a aircraft, and then they go out and they get rewarded. The robots that rebelled against Kenneth get rewarded by the grand judge. They get rewarded with pleasure circuits. What the fuck? I like how there's women giving them this stuff too. So Walter gets rewarded with his freedom, but interestingly enough, in the last couple panels here, he ends up going back to Dredd and asking Dredd to let him serve him because he doesn't really want his freedom. He wants to be a slave. Very, very interesting commentary altogether on this whole issue. It was a great read, And the art's not bad, even though it's dated. Oh, by the way, I ended up, this is the last page, I ended up using this panel as my art. I'll talk about it in a little bit right here. And yeah, it was actually pretty enjoyable, and it's kind of convinced me. I was a little bit on the tip right, or on the edge right here about whether I wanted to continue with Judge Dredd. But after reading this, I'm kind of seeing where this is going. It's like it's slowly progressing and getting deeper and deeper and deeper and better and better and better. So yeah, I'm going to continue on with Judge Dredd. This has been a really enjoyable read. And can't wait to get to, like, I'm kind of interested because I can see right here the art goes to, what is it? I think, it goes to Brian Boland later on. And his art is really good. So it's going to be interesting to go through those ones. Where is Boland? Is it this one? Yeah. He's somewhere in there. I know he's starting, and then he starts to take over for a lot of the other issues. So, yeah, man. Judge Dredd getting better, getting better. The law. Okay. Sorry, I had to throw one of those in there. Anyhow, that's the review. Let's see how I did. Now, I'm going to be dead honest with you. I actually really like this, even though I spend so much damn time on drawing this. I don't know why either, because it was one of those things where, like, there was a lot of times where, like, did I really need to copy all of the pullouts and the inking techniques that the artist used? No, you didn't, but goddamn does it look way better when you do. I ended up getting really lazy around Walter, but honestly, when you look at the original inks, where are you? I'm going to go open you up right here. Yeah, so if you take a look at the original inks, the original artist is kind of lazy on drawing Walter. I ended up making Walter thinner and a little taller for whatever reason. I'm not sure about that, but I really love how this Judge Dredd came out. My only complaint is I think I made his leg a little weird right here. But it still works for the most part. Man, dude, I like, oh man. I'm feeling really jazzy now. Like last issue, the Futurist wasn't that great in my artwork there. It was pretty bad. But this is looking a lot cleaner. A lot cleaner. Anyhow, that's a review. Sorry for taking so long. If you liked it, please hit the thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Hit the bell for notifications. If you have any comments or about this series, this storyline, I guess, of Judge Dredd, the Robot Wars, leave it down below. You got any comments about my art? Also leave it down below. And I will see you next time.